episode of Musical Chairs with me, Cheer Up Charlie. And today we have the amazing, the wonderful, somebody whose name strikes fear into the hearts of even the best performers. Somebody who I heard likes a little bit of a debate. So I think I'm going to enjoy this interview. He's Mark Shenton, everybody! Whoop, 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 whoop.
Hi, Charlie. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Very good, very good. Better for seeing you.
Oh, thank you for letting me interview you.
It's a pleasure.
Now, if you're ready, we'll get right into the questions.
Okay.
I know you were born in South Africa, but do you remember the first show that you saw growing up on the West End? Mine was The Lion King.
Right. Well, my first show, I remember the first day I arrived in London. We arrived in England in 1979, long before you were born. And at the end, I grew up on the cast album of A Chorus Line, one of my favourite musicals, and it actually ended. The London run of the original production ended in March 1979, which is the month I arrived, and I actually went to the last matinee of that show. That was the first show I saw, and I bought myself, I think I was 16 at the time, so a little bit older than you, but I bought a 50p ticket that was supposed to put me in the balcony of the Drury Lane Theatre, but they moved me downstairs, so I sat at the back of the stalls for 50p.
Wow. So, did you ever want to be on stage, or are you like my mum and love to listen to musicals, but that's as far as it goes?
Yeah, I never wanted to be on stage. No, that's not my thing at all. Do you want to be on stage?
Yeah.
You do? Okay, well, good luck. I'd rather go to the theatre than be in it. I want to see different theatre every night. I don't want to be on stage.
Very, very fair. So, to me, journalism is great for nosy people who can write well. What on earth made you go into journalism, especially as you did a law degree, and where did you do that?
Well, I did my law degree at Cambridge, but I never wanted to do law. I always wanted to do something in the theatre, but I figured that everybody would have an English degree, and I thought if I had a law degree, at least it would make me something different. And might be a little practical. It might be useful if I wanted to do something in theatre administration or something instead of, because at the time I graduated from university in 1985, before the internet. Can you imagine? There was no internet. In those days, the only people who were critics there were 12 newspapers, and there were 12 critics on those newspapers, and that's all there was. Nowadays, everybody's a critic. If you set up it's so easy to set up a blog or a website yourself. You can set up, look, nowadays, you're running your own TV station here, effectively, with these interviews. You don't have to belong to a TV station even. So we all can do our own thing now that we never used to be able to do. So when I graduated, I thought, well, how on earth do you become a theatre critic when there's only 12 jobs in the world? Or only 12 jobs in England, in Britain. And I thought it's going to be impossible to get it. So I thought law might be a good standby in case I didn't get a job. And I did have to wait. I waited till 2002 before I got a proper job as a critic. I'd been writing reviews and journalism from the time I was at university onwards. But actually, to start making a living at it, that took 15 or 16 years.
Yeah. So, how does someone become a theatre critic, especially when you know you will be, well, how do I put this? Hated by some people. What is it like writing for the stage?
I don't write for the stage anymore, but I did until last year, a couple of years ago. You know what? None of us want to be disliked in this business, but what you always want to be is to be fair, and you want to be trusted. Now, as a result of that, you can only be true to what you see. And obviously, I don't want to be willfully cruel to people, but if a show isn't good, I have to say that it's not good, because otherwise my opinion is worth nothing. If somebody sees a terrible show and they say, but Mark Shenton liked it, then I'm going to devalue my currency. People are going to think that I'm stupid. So I'd rather be honest, or as honest as I can be about a show. I try not to be unkind, but I have to be honest.
And sometimes that's a fine line.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly.
So Mum says I already like a good argument or debate. A lot of your tweets and blogs cause some serious debates. Is that always your intention?
It's never an intention to cause a debate, because I'm not deliberately provocative for the sake of being provocative.
Yeah.
It's just that I do sometimes say things that people find challenging, and when they enter into debate, that's fine. I think there's no such thing as right and wrong in theatre criticism. It's only a matter of opinion, and if people are reasonable in their responses, I engage in a debate. What I don't like is being just attacked for the sake of being attacked.
Yeah. So, who has been your most favourite person or show to interview today, and who is on your most wanted list?
Oh, that's very hard. I've interviewed lots of people, obviously. One person that was on my list of that I really, really wanted to interview was Cate Blanchett, because I think Cate Blanchett is a goddess. I have interviewed her, and she was the nicest person I could ever meet. She was actually, and sometimes you long to interview somebody and they turn out to be horrible. And I'm not going to name names because I'm not going to be horrible, but there are people who are very difficult, and you just think, why did I do that? Why did I bother to interview them? But somebody like Cate Blanchett was amazing. She's a huge star in terms of her Hollywood profile, but she had just opened a play on Broadway. The opening night was on Sunday night. On Monday morning, she arranged to meet me in a coffee shop at 10 a.m. And I found out that she'd done her first night at the theatre. She'd done her performance. She'd then gone to the party, because there was a party afterwards. And then that morning, the mail online had pictures of her taking her children to school. So it's like 7:30, 8 in the morning. She took her children to school. And then she came to meet me at 10. At 11 o'clock, a car came to pick her up from the interview to take her to shoot Ocean's 11, the film she was doing at the time. Now, I thought to myself, do you know what? If my schedule was that busy, the first thing I would cancel is that journalist from London. Why do I need to speak to him? I've got a busy day ahead. I'm tired. I don't want to speak to him. She came and spoke to me. So she means a lot to me. Also, I've interviewed pretty much everybody I admire. I mean, I loved interviewing Judi Dench, for instance. She's a brilliant woman. And sometimes, it doesn't happen that often, but sometimes somebody you start off by interviewing becomes a friend. And now, you don't ever do this job to become friends with your subjects. But just once in a while, somebody, you might just strike up a particular rapport with somebody and discover that there's more going on than you think. And one example I'm going to cite of that is Philip Cost, the musical theatre actor who's won 3 Olivier Awards. He was the Javert in the 10th anniversary Les Mis. He is stunning as a performer. I remember seeing him, this is long before I knew him as a person. I remember seeing him in Cabaret at the Donmar Warehouse in, I think it was 1999, and thinking that this man is the greatest musical theatre actor we have in Britain today. He's Australian, but I thought he was living in London. I thought he's the best we have. And I interviewed him a couple of times over the years, and then we just exchanged emails and then became really good friends. And now I've been over to stay with him in Australia. He's come to, he's gone home back to Australia, but we stay in touch regularly. When on my birthday, he calls me. He's just a lovely guy.
I can imagine. So I'm very passionate about people doing what they love and not what people think they should do. #CheerUpCharlie was born just over 18 months ago now due to my decision to make a stand against bullying and the support of an incredible industry. I am now very lucky to be in a position to use my voice and speak to people like you that can give my generation the hope that things will change. But change needs to be learned. How can we get over this massive negativity around the arts, especially in boys in the playground?
You know what, it's a lifelong struggle, isn't it? And all credit to you for standing up to the bullies, because the only way you defeat bullies is by standing up to them. That's the only way it works. And I've actually had to stand up to bullies too, because do you know what, the bullying doesn't stop when you grow up. At the age of the age I'm now, which is probably older than I'm sure I'm older than your mum. I am older than your mum. I've been bullied even as recently as 2 years ago. And what you have to do is you have to stand up to them, or walk away. I did walk away. You mentioned, yeah. So you just have to. You have to not allow yourself to be bullied in the end. I don't think it's not true that we bring it on ourselves. I think that would be a false narrative. But actually, the bullies are there all your life, no matter how old you are. People, Donald Trump is a bully, and he gets bullied because that's what happens to bullies. So it's not going to go away. We just have to learn to deal with it. But how to deal with how young boys are treated, because it's regarded that theatre is not a manly pursuit or whatever. That's just a ridiculous thing. It's so ridiculous, because theatre and dance. I mean, ballet kids who like ballet, who do want to dance, they get bullied terribly. But actually, it's the amount of sportsmanship it requires to be a dancer is phenomenal.
Yeah. So I hope in the near future to get industry leaders together and put on workshops for children that have never experienced the magic of the arts and never likely to, due to financial constraints, and eventually open the #CheerUpCharlie Foundation to support kids in the arts. Do you think that this is something that could be possible?
It's a great idea to formalize it in some way. There's an awful lot of industry support, obviously, for these sorts of initiatives. I mean, when we need to come together as an industry to eradicate bullying and to eradicate all these wrong things, the sexism, homophobia, all those things need to be challenged. Racism, but it's a long journey. It's happening on all the time. It's getting better all the time, but there is still a long way to go. So, for example, in my world, theatre criticism, it was not so long ago that we had we had only all white critics. We had not a single person of colour as a critic. We now have 2 critics who are people of colour. Both the Guardian, Arifo Akbar, and the Times, Clive Davis, are people of colour. So that's changed, and that's changed in the last 2 years. So we can change that, and you can change the narrative around racism. Look what's been happening in football with the football players taking a knee to challenge the racism in football. Those changes can happen, and now they're happening in the theatre.
So have you ever suffered at the hands of bullies, either as a child or in the industry?
I have, absolutely. I mentioned earlier.
More industry, sorry.
As recently as 2 years ago. I mean, it's sort of inevitable. It goes with the territory, because the thing about theatre critics are can be regularly bullied by their readers, among other things. There are people who don't like what we say, and they turn it on us. And you have to be fairly strong to resist this. But they always tell you as a critic never to read the bottom half of the internet. In other words, don't read the comments below the review. And that's a place where a lot of bullying takes place, when you get called out for that. Now, I do think that since we give criticism, we have to be able to take it. If you give it, you have to be able to take it. So there's a degree to which that's reasonable, that people should be able to say that our criticism is wrong. But then for them to call you names, or refer to your weight or whatever it might be, that's wrong. There's a person who has a internet radio station called Celebrity Radio, and his whole business model is based on trolling people, and he bullies me. He's bullied me all the time. He doesn't stop bullying me. He makes these videos in which he bullies me. So welcome to the world of so-called celebrity radio.
Yeah. So if you could give yourself some advice as a child, knowing what you know now as an adult, what would it be?
Advice to my younger self would be that it will work out okay. When you start out, you think, God, it seems so daunting. How do I ever become what I want to become? And I did become what I wanted to become, and I'm really proud of myself. So I've managed to do that, and of course now the challenge is to stay in the game, because this game is changing. I mean, we've certainly lost a lot of traction with with COVID, and critics' jobs are being eradicated everywhere. Not an easy time to be a critic, but I'm determined to stay in the game, I still want to have a voice in this industry for many years to come.
Yeah, yeah. So now for some funny and interesting questions.
Okay.
So I tell my mom off for doing everything 1,000 miles an hour. What do you get told off for?
Oh, well, and my husband, I'd have to ask him. But he does tell me off a lot. And that's what do I do that's bad? Oh gosh, I can't think of what he tells me off all the time. He does tell me off all the time, mainly for. Mainly, he tells me off in my own interests, or he tries to tell me off in my own interests for being indiscreet. When I basically I wear my heart on my sleeve. I let people know what I think, and sometimes he thinks that's not a good idea.
So you've worked with so many incredible people at many amazing events. What's the most embarrassing thing that you've seen someone do?
Most embarrassing thing I've seen somebody do. Okay, well, one of my favorite art forms is cabaret, where people present a show about their own lives, and sing songs. I mean, usually it's singers who do cabarets. And this might be the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. There was a cabaret club called Pizza on the Park. It's not there anymore. And Liza Minnelli's sister, who's called Lorna Luft, she came to appear at Pizza on the Park. And on her first night, they usually, the performers who go to Pizza on the Park, they do 2 shows a night. They do one at 9:15 and one at 11:15 p.m. And the same audience stay for both shows, because basically it's an early show and late show, and the artist usually does 2 different shows. It's like an interval. But in America, cabarets run differently. In cabaret, when there are 2 shows, it's 2 different audiences. But nobody told Lorna Luft that it would be the same audience for both shows. She came out, she did her first show, then she came back for the second show, and she started with the same patter and the same song. And then as the evening went on, within 2 or 3 songs, I realized what was going on. She was repeating the same show she'd just done an hour before to us, who had already seen that whole show. So the audience, saw her show twice. That's probably the most embarrassing show I've ever been to.
Now, this is one of my favorite things to ask. What is your most disgusting habit?
Oh dear me! You expect me to tell you? What's yours?
Well, my thing is, I like sometimes when I'm eating my dinner, not out in public, but sometimes I'll use my fingers.
Right. Well, I guess my husband tells me off about this a lot, which is that I often don't find my mouth when I'm putting food into it. So I often drop food all around me. It's just one of those things. So he's always telling me to watch where I'm putting my food. I literally don't know, somehow it doesn't go into my mouth, it goes somewhere else.
Oh, that's awful. So now's for some quickfire questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who would you go and eavesdrop on if you were invisible?
If I was invisible, eavesdropping on to find out the truth about them. Probably for the entertainment value, Donald Trump would be fun to be an eavesdropper on, because the man is completely insane.
Favorite superhero?
Superhero, you.
Oh, thank you. Childhood book?
I loved Tintin growing up.
Favorite city?
New York. That's so quick, because my husband and I even have a place there. We have our own apartment in New York, which I love.
Last song downloaded?
Last song downloaded. Actually, just yesterday, I got an album from a West End performer called, let me just find his name. Sorry, I've just lost it now. Hold on, what's his name? Joel Harper Jackson. He's a West End boy who I like very much, and he sent me his album yesterday, so I downloaded that.
Oh. Haribo or chocolate?
Favorite chocolate?
Haribo or chocolate?
Haribo. Chocolatey, definitely chocolate.
Favorite place to eat?
Favorite place to eat. There's a diner in New York that I love called the Westway. I'd probably say the Westway is my favorite place to eat.
Harry Potter house?
Harry Potter house. Oh, I don't know. I don't know Harry Potter at all.
Okay.
I really don't. I've seen the play, of course, but I haven't read the books, and I couldn't. I don't even know what the houses are, I'm afraid.
Okay. Text or talk?
Sorry, text? Text or talk? Talk.
2 things to take to a deserted island.
My husband, and a CD player.
Cool. So
the CD player loaded with lots and lots of discs, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. You can't just have an empty CD player. That would just be pointless. Exactly. Unless you just like looking at CD players.
Yeah, exactly. It's unlikely. No, it's got to be the right ones. Lots of discs.
So now, for my benefit only, do you think you'll ever need a child to maybe come with you to New York and review some shows?
I'd love to. I'd love to have somebody come and review shows with me.
Cool.
But will your parents let you come?
Dad? Dad?
I'll start packing your bags.
Can't wait to get rid of you. He can't wait to get rid of you. Okay, that's a good answer.
Cool. So, Mark, you managed to get through my interview, and it was a pretty good one. I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
You're a tough man.
Thank you.
You gave me a hard time, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what I like to hear.
See you again, I hope.
Yes, hopefully. Thank you. Bye. And maybe next time in person.
Bye. Definitely in person next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Mark. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. What another amazing interview. Oh, wasn't it so amazing? Oh, Mark was so nice. And I like to hear that I gave him a hard time. That's why I like my interviews, which means you guys hopefully have enjoyed it. So remember, if you did enjoy it and want to see more interviews like this, remember to like and subscribe and turn off that notifications bell. Ding, 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 ding. And also go follow me on Instagram, because that's where we can make a change, because that's how we make a change, by supporting me. And you guys will want to make a change. I want to make a change. So why not? Remember, like, subscribe, and go follow my Instagram.